everyone. Thank you for joining us. I see you all coming in. For those who are watching us via live on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. We do wish that we were in person, but COVID had other plans, but we're gonna try to make this virtual event as amazing as can be. My name is Nicole Telfer. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm a third-year doctoral student in applied developmental psychology here at the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. I am also the founding president, the founding mama of the Black Graduate Student Organization here at UMBC. And again, I'd like to welcome you all to our virtual Black History Month event. I'm so excited for you all to join us, and I'm also honored to have Miss Sabrina Fulton, the mother of Trayvon Martin, here as our keynote speaker. And as a reminder, our theme is community resilience, empowerment, and systemic change. And so before we get into the gist of this event, I'd like to do a land acknowledgement. I'd like to take a moment to, as a graduate student who works on the land of the Piscataway and Susquehannock peoples, I'd like to offer my respect to all past, present, and future Indigenous people connected to UMBC. And if you'd like to learn more about what land acknowledgements are and why they're important, I can place some in the chat. Some resources in the chat, or I can also email it to you all for those who did sign up for the event. So we have an amazing performer tonight. She's my sister, my friend, my confidant, my doctoral student, pal, colleague. But before I introduce her, I'd like for us to listen to a welcome done by the president of our university, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. So again, that was the president of our university, Dr. Freeman Hrabowski. And although he wasn't able to be here with us, I thank him for his welcome, and I'm sure that he would enjoy the recording when I send it to him. So now I'm going to introduce Munaza Abraham, who is the performer for tonight. Munaza Abraham is a clinical and community psychology PhD student at UMBC. She is learning to be both a therapist and a scholar activist. Munaza career interest centers on the freedoms and holistic well-being of communities impacted by the criminal legal system. In addition to her science, she uses spoken word poetry to reflect the Black experience, her personal journey, and her vision for a better world. She has a provocative poetry book entitled Dear Vagina, Forgive Me, which is a collection of poetry, spoken word poems on a page that depicts Black women's journey to self. You can purchase Dear Vagina, Forgive Me online at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. Please join me in welcoming my dear friend, Munaza. Imagine them clapping, Munaza.
I hear it.
I hear it too.
Thank you for that introduction, my dear friend Nicole. So I am going to read a piece called My People, I Love You. And normally in an audience, like we're singing along or we're chanting along with this piece. So, you know, you can do it in your house and just feel it if you can. There's wealth in nature and our nature is rich. Wakanda in our hearts till it's no longer a myth. I say there's wealth in nature and our nature is rich. Wakanda in our hearts till it's no longer a myth. I say there's wealth in nature and our nature is rich. Wakanda in our hearts till it's no longer a myth. I say, gonna have children one day. Wanna look my daughter in the face. Let her know, baby girl, this your world tomorrow, but while it's mine today. I'm gonna strip up this concrete, reconnect our toes to our roots is how I'll pave the way, say I'll kick up capital bricks laid, till the soil feels our soul like back in the day. Natural order, ancestors will pave our way, cause there's wealth in nature and our nature is rich. Wakanda in our hearts till it's no longer a myth. I say there's wealth in nature and our nature is rich. Wakanda in our hearts till it's no longer a myth. I say Africa's still here. Afafreka, still here, physical and ethereal, abundant resources, that's wifey material. Birthing dynasties, astronomy, alchemy, arithmetic, and medicine, but got none of the fame. Defaced her as fable, motherland deserves our last name. Null and void, colonizer labels, I say abundant resources, that's wifey material. Motherland deserves our last name. Null, void, colonizer labels for her honor, fight for honor, Black independence. Never our own. Black independence was never on the agenda of American freedom. Guerrilla warfare, disguised in police uniforms, puffing their chests, beating in chests of school teachers, Black boys, parents, and therapists. Where's the love? Where's the love? I think it's time to go home, cause there's wealth in nature and our nature is rich. Wakanda in our hearts till it's no longer a myth. I say there's wealth in nature and our nature is rich. Wakanda in our hearts till it's no longer a myth. I say, my people, they don't love us. And they never will. Not like we can. My people, they don't love us. And they never will. Not like we can. We need our own schools. They can't teach us where we from, who I am. We need our own government. They think abundance only comes when someone's below them. We need our own land. African agriculture, eat the fruits of our labor so we can finally heal. But we can never heal if their business is in our sickness. Pharmaceutical exploiters, my people, they don't love us. Cause there's wealth in nature and our nature still rich. Wakanda in our hearts, it was never a myth. I say there's wealth in nature and our nature still rich. Wakanda in our hearts, it was never a myth. My people, they don't love us, but I do. My people, we have to trust us. I do. Till death do us part. If we think that's true, they'll just keep killing us. My people, they don't love us. But do you promise to hold and protect us? Do you promise to never let go of us? Do you promise through sickness and through health? Do you promise real freedom and true justice? Do you promise to join our holy union? Do you? Please say it if you love us. Please say, there's wealth in nature and our nature's still rich. Wakanda in our hearts, it was never a myth. I say there's wealth in nature and our nature's still rich. Wakanda in our hearts, it was never a myth. Thank you. Feel free to follow me on Instagram at Naz, Nazz. underscore she speaks. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here.
Wow, thank you so much, Manasa. I can definitely hear the claps. I see people smiling. So thank you so much. Again, you can purchase Manasa's poetry book, Dear Vagina Forgive Me, on Amazon and or Barnes and Noble. Thank you so much again. So we're going to take a 3 to 5 minute break before I read the bio of Miss Sabrina Fulton. And we will hear her speak. Hello, everyone. Again, just encouraging you to not go anywhere. We'll be back in the next 2 minutes. Thank you. Hi again, everyone. So I hope you enjoyed the wonderful poem done by Munaza Abraham. She's an amazing spoken word artist, and I'm so grateful that she was able to share that piece with us. I think it will be very essential to the message that Ms. Fulton would be speaking to us today. Um, and so I just wanted to let you all know, for those who are watching via live stream, unfortunately, you won't be able to ask questions there, but for everyone who's here in the webinar, you'd be able to ask your questions in the Q&A chat box. And so when you should start putting your questions in there now if you have any, but if you might have some while Ms. Fulton is speaking, you can feel free to put your questions in there. And then after Ms. Fulton has finished speaking, Justine Johnson, who is Big So's advisor, will moderate the chat box and ask Ms. Fulton the questions. And Justine Johnson and Ms. Sabrina Fulton, if you are by your laptops and can turn on your camera, that would be great. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. I want to encourage you to put your questions in the Q&A if you have any now, or if you have any questions that you might want to ask Ms. Fulton. We met with her a little earlier, and we asked her if there were any questions that we could pose to her or that were off limits, and she said absolutely not. So as you hear her speak, and give her talk tonight. If there is anything that resonates with you and you would like to have your question answered, unfortunately, our friends and family and YouTube world will not be able to ask a question, but our guest in the WebEx chat can pose a question in the Q&A, and Ms. Fulton will be glad to answer your questions. So I will select the questions as you put them into the chat.
Thank you, Justine. And while Ms. Fulton is getting ready to log on and be here with us, I will go ahead and read her bio. Sabrina Fulton is dedicating her life to transforming family tragedy into social change. Since the death of her son, her 17-year-old son, Trayvon Martin, during the violent confrontation in 2012, Fulton has become an inspiring spokesperson for parents and concerned citizens across the country. Her book, co-authored with Tracy Martin, Rest in Power: The Enduring Life of Trayvon Martin, shares the intimate story of a tragically foreshortened life and the rise of a movement that awoke the nation's conscience. The publicity surrounding Trayvon's death and the ensuing trial catapulted the country into national debate. Despite the intense struggle of losing a child, Fulton has become a role model to many by turning her grief into advocacy. Remaining strong throughout the trial and ensuing months, she lends her voice to speak against violence towards children and the need to build safer, better communities for all. Her message not only appeals to people's hearts as it relates to children, but it is also one of hope and change, exemplified by her personal experiences and endeavors. As a mother, she inspires audiences to continuously educate their children about civil rights and to help them feel accepted as part of an ever-changing society. An honest and relatable speaker, Fulton always looks forward to sharing her powerful message with everyone, from colleges and legal professionals to community and family organizations, and all proponents of social justice. A Miami native, Fulton graduated from Florida Memorial University, where she earned a bachelor's degree in English. A proud mother, Fulton worked for the Miami-Dade County Housing Development Agency for over 25 years and is a member of the Antioch Missionary Baptist Church of Miami Gardens. Currently, Fulton is running for office in Miami-Dade, but is still looking forward to speaking. Please join me in welcoming Ms. Sabrina Fulton. Oh, you're muted. Yes. Great.
Okay. Hi, how are you?
I am good. Thank you so much for being here. So everyone can see you, but you can't see them, but you can see Justine and I.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna start off by saying good evening. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me. I want to just think of this as a conversation. You know, this is not a lecture. And it's just a conversation that we're gonna have. And I'm just gonna dive right in. Is that okay?
Yes, that is perfect. Thank you.
So a lot of people think that, you know, by the way everything transpired that, you know, I was prepared for this, or, you know, it was totally something that we followed legal advice with. I'm going to first tell you how normal my life was and regular my life was and average my life was. And I had a you know, house in, I'm born and raised here in Miami, and I have one house, one bachelor's degree, one car, two kids, and I push my boys to be a better generation than what I did, you know. So I had all of those things. So I pushed them to get, you know, a PhD or a master's degree. Because I had a bachelor's. I had one house. I wanted them to have two houses. I had one car. I wanted them to have two cars. I had a full-time job. I wanted them to just be a little better. So I did push them a great deal in school because education is so important. But I would, you know, just a regular life, just, you know, me, you know, working hard, saving my money, straightening my credit, whatever I wanted. I'd, you know, just like I saw my grandmother, great grandmother, my mother, work hard for the things that they received. And so it was nothing that I thought was going to be easy. And so I worked hard. I saved my money and bought what I needed to. I took my kids on vacation every year. You know, just a regular lifestyle. Would come home from work, you know, regular Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, get off at 5 o'clock, fight the traffic, come in the house, turn on the news, start cooking dinner, fuss at my kids about taking out the garbage. They need haircuts, they need to clean their room. Just the regular conversations with the kids, as I'm watching the news and cooking dinner, you know, trying to do everything at the same time. And so that was just a regular life. It was a regular life, a regular lifestyle, nothing, you know, that I could really foresee that would have prepared me for the tragedy that I was about to experience. And so I tell people that, and it's true, I wouldn't have signed up for this. I wouldn't have signed up to be the voice for my son who was unarmed and who is deceased and in heaven. I wouldn't have volunteered for it. I wouldn't have, you know, it could have saved a million people, but I wanted my son here. So it's not something that I can definitely say that I'm so brave and I have so much courage inside me that I would have done this. I would not have. I would have had my son here. And so I'm very open and honest about that. And I just feel like I wouldn't have sacrificed my son. You know, people in the military, they sacrifice their life in order to fight for their country. That's not something that I would have done. Not saying that I would not have joined the military, but I wouldn't have sacrificed my child. So I got a call. I went to work. Everything was, you know, normal. Trayvon was with his dad in Sanford, and got a call that Trayvon didn't come home. I felt that was unusual, so I went to my supervisor. I talked to my supervisor, and I told my supervisor, you know, that is, you know, I had a situation at home and I needed to go home. And so, of course, they were accommodating, you know, because I couldn't concentrate anyway at work, because I'm wondering, you know, where's Trayvon, you know? And so I don't know how much time had passed from the time that I originally talked to Tracy and the time that I left the, you know, was about to leave the job. But I remember getting in my car. I remember cranking up the car, putting my seatbelt on, when I got the second call from Tracy that said Trayvon, the detectives or investigators came to the house and they showed him some pictures, and that Trayvon had been shot and killed. And I was like, did you see the body? And he was like, no. He said, I saw some pictures. So I'm thinking in my mind, you know, in denial. Maybe the pictures were photoshopped. Maybe somebody's playing a dirty trick. Maybe this is a nightmare. Like, it didn't really hit me. And so I remember backing my car up. Funny, this was 9 years ago. I remember backing my car up and pulling out of the parking lot and merging on the expressway. And I don't know how far I got. I probably need to drive it so I could see exactly where I was, because it's like so clear to me. I remember merging on the expressway, and that's when it hit me what Tracy had told me, that Trayvon had been shot and killed. And I pulled over, and I remember sweating. I remember turning the car off. I was on the side of the road, and I just yelled out to God, why? And I just started screaming. I started crying. I started praying. I couldn't understand why. Why did this happen to my son? Why did this happen to a 17-year-old? Why did this happen to a person of color, African American, that was unarmed? Why? Why I had so many whys? I didn't know what to do. And I don't know how long I stayed there, but I did stay there for a minute, and I was just screaming and crying and, you know, just praying, and I didn't know what else to do. And when I felt like I had gotten myself together, I cranked the car back up, and I merged back into traffic, and I could feel the tears running down my face. And I got home, and when I got home, my mom was there, my sister was there, and a couple of the people was there, and I was just like, I don't know. I couldn't tell if I was going or coming. I couldn't tell, you know, I just didn't believe it. I was in disbelief. I actually was in disbelief and just could not believe that my son was gone. And so I fought it for a while. I didn't come right out and go to Sanford. I told, you know, my family that I was never going to Sanford again. I actually told my family Trayvon's dad, Tracy, I told him to ship the body back to Miami, and we'll have a service for him here in Miami. I just remember it being so dark, and just, you know, even the sun was shining, but it was dark. My world was dark. My life was dark. I was in a place on a street doing, you know, I was in a space I'd never been in. And I didn't know how to come back out of that space. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know any of those things. And so I thought, you know, by me just staying in my room, that it would help, that it would help me, like, okay, maybe I could get myself together. It didn't help. I stayed in my room. I struggled with God. I tell people this all the time, because I don't want people to think that, oh, this was easy. Oh, she did this and she did that. I wasn't able to do it. I wasn't able to talk. I wasn't able to do interviews. And I remember we did have the funeral. Some parts of the funeral are gray, you know, and I just don't remember a lot of things that happened. It was like a dark, dark place in my life. I never want to go there again. God really tested my strength. to see how strong I was. I can definitely say that. And you don't really know how strong you are until you're tested. And so that was my test. I just remember after the funeral, I wouldn't come out the house. I wouldn't come out my room. I had a purple room at the time. Everything in the room was purple. The walls were purple. The pillows were purple. The sheets were purple. The blanket was purple. Everything was purple in the room. Purple flowers, everything. So it was a happy room, but it was very sad for me. And I just remember like getting up in the morning and just crying. I remember like I didn't want to take a shower. I didn't want to brush my teeth. I didn't want to nothing. I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to comb my hair. I didn't want to do anything. And I tried to come out one day and I wasn't able to. I did come out with my family and we went to eat because they wanted to try to get me out of, you know, the zone that I was in. And I went to a restaurant and we sat down and we ordered, and just tears started coming out of, you know, I just started crying all over again. And now we in a public place. And so it was, to me, it was too soon to get out. I went to a grief counselor. I did nothing there but cry. So I ended up going back in my room, and I kind of stayed in my room for a little bit until I got a call. I was out again, maybe a couple of days later, and we were at a restaurant, and I got a call from my attorney, Benjamin Crump, and Trayvon's dad, and they said that the person who had shot and killed Trayvon, that they were not going to arrest him because of the Stand Your Ground. So I had no clue what Stand Your Ground was. And so I went back on my word that I was never going to Sanford again. And we left the restaurant, we packed our things, and we left that night. We were on the road that night. And by the time I got there, got settled in, of course, I wasn't sleeping well at that time. You know, I wasn't sleeping well. And we got up the next morning, had breakfast, and started the journey. I mean, it was gone from there. We had to get the word out. We were focused on different things. First, we were focused on, you know, getting the word out so that we can get an arrest. And then the focus changed from getting the arrest to make sure that, you know, we did our part in whatever we had to do as witnesses, or whatever information we had to provide to them. I just couldn't understand why a 17-year-old unarmed, you know, teenager who thought as a teenager, he spoke as a teenager, he looked like a teenager, he had a baby face. It was obvious that he was a young person, and how somebody that was 28 years old, that was a neighborhood crime watch, could be standing over him with a loaded gun and him not be arrested, when we know that there are two justice systems, that Trayvon would have been arrested at that time, at that day, standing right there at the scene. They wouldn't have given him an opportunity to prove or give comments about what happened, or statements about what happened. He would have been arrested day one. And so we know this. We know that there are two different types of justice systems, you know, one for people of color and one for other people. And so that was my first trial that I had ever been to. I just had a eerie feeling about it. I was ready to go home. I mean, I sat through the entire trial, and I listened to them try to portray the victim, the defendant, as being weak. And he took these Stand Your Ground classes, he took self-defense classes, but he was so weak. He wasn't weak with a loaded gun, you know, following a 17-year-old. And so we got to be frank about this. I don't know what 28-year-old man with a loaded gun would be yelling out for help against a 17-year-old who was unarmed. So when they talked about who was yelling out, it's obvious who was yelling out, because you're not going to have a loaded gun and you're yelling for help. And so I just think about all the things that took place. I think about when Trayvon was laying on the ground, how they did a drug and alcohol testing on him. They did a background check check on him, but the person who was standing there, they never did a drug and alcohol test on him. They never did a background check, none of those things. But you have my son who is 17 on the ground, but you have this other person and you never check those things at the scene. So it's obvious that we have systematic problems. We have problems with our system. We have problems with a lot of the police departments and how the laws are administered and how the crimes and how they handle the crimes. We have problems with the court system. We have problems with the justice system. It's just so many systematic issues with the system, and they're so obvious. They're so obvious to people of color. But you had a lot of people who want to, you know, hide the fact that they see that it's problems. And I think the turning point that I can honestly say I saw a turning point was with George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, and Breonna Taylor. That's when the turning point was. Because I truly believe that once people saw what happened with George Floyd, they couldn't unsee it. You can't see it and take it back. People saw him, even though he was a person of color, they saw him as being a human being. And for a human being to treat another human being in that manner was disgusting. It was really disgusting to see that. It was inhuman to see what we did see, to hear George Floyd holler out for his mom, to hear him yell out that he couldn't breathe. Those things are just, they just leave a bad taste in your mouth. And it just makes you think how evil the system is, how unfair the system is, and how unjust, you know, we don't receive justice. It just feels that way on every case. Breonna Taylor was in her own bed, asleep, and the police knocked down her door and shot and killed her. And what? Nobody's held accountable for her death. And so when the people say they feel well, before that we were 3/5 human, it looks like they still think we are 3/5 human. You know, it just feels so unfair. But even though it feels unfair, it feels like I can, and people who are involved in the movement can never give up, because it's so much to do. It's so many people that's suffering. It's so many people that have committed crimes that are still walking around, and then you have people that committed little petty crimes and you put them underneath the jail. And so that's why the system is not a just system. That's why we have systematic problems. That's why we can't understand why this can happen with this person and this can happen with that person. And one person goes to jail and the other person goes home and get in their bed because of the color of their skin. A lot of people want it, you know, the media, and a lot of people want people to think that it was because Trayvon was wearing a hoodie. It was not. A lot of the kids, teenagers, students, just every average day people wear hoodies. And that's not to justify why he was killed because he had on a hoodie. People wear hoodies all the time. It was definitely because of the color of his skin. And so we have to say that in order to move forward. We can't tackle the problem if we don't admit we have one. And so you got so many people that's what their mindset is. Okay, well, let's just not address this. Let's just not address this issue or this issue or this issue. It'll go away. It's not going to go away. It's getting worse. So I mean, I don't know how much longer I have to speak, but, you know, I'm very interested in some of the questions that you probably have. You know, I can really talk, but I'm really interested in the questions that you all have.
Justine, before you ask the questions in the chat, because I don't want to forget mine. The first one that I have is, I know that you and Tracy Martin started a foundation for Trayvon Martin. And if you could just tell us more about that, how can we support that foundation? Is there a website that I can place in the chat for those who are viewing in the webinar? If you could, just tell us a little bit more about that foundation.
Okay, I'm going to say it in the beginning and also at the end. The website is www.TrayvonMartinFoundation.org. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about some of the programs, but they can also go there just in case I leave something out. Let's see. I don't have my glasses on, so but yeah, it's TrayvonMartinFoundation.org. Okay, so through the foundation, our attorneys, of course, through their advice, suggested that we get a foundation. We create a foundation because we wanted to leave a legacy for Trayvon. We wanted to make sure people knew that Trayvon had a right to walk in peace, and that we were the voice for Trayvon, who was the voiceless. It's like, okay, two people were at the scene. One is deceased. One is there with a loaded gun. He's going to say whatever he can not to go to jail. I mean, it's just common sense. That's just what people do, you know. But I don't know a 28-year-old man with a loaded gun that's going to be yelling for help. I just do not. But the foundation was created, like I said, out of the advice and the counsel from attorney Benjamin Crump and Daryl Parks. It was Parks and Crump at the time. And the foundation talks about gun violence. It talks about gun awareness, you know, and how gun violence affects not just that family, but also affects, if it was a person that was in high school, such as Trayvon, it affects his friends. It affects the other students in the school. It affects not just my household, but his cousins, his aunts, his uncles, his grandmothers, you know, his siblings, and it affects so many people. You know, it's not just that particular person. Like when Trayvon passed away, it wasn't just about Trayvon, you know, it was about so many other people. And so we talk about that. We have what we call is the Peace Walk and Peace Talk. And we have that around Trayvon's birthday. His birthday is February 5th. We just celebrated. We did a virtual call. We had some people to come on the call. It's on the website. They could listen to the entire call. And we had people to call in to talk about, you know, the foundation and what the foundation meant to them. And, you know, there are people that support the foundation. But we do the Peace Walk to let the community know, to let the young people, especially the young people, to let law enforcement, to let the community know as a whole that Trayvon had a right to walk in peace without being followed, chased, profiled, or murdered. And so we do the Peace Walk. It's a short distance. It's less than a mile. And at the end of the Peace Walk is a peace talk. We have elected officials come out. We have pastors to come out. We have the young people to come out, and we do like a program, but it's very uplifting and it's very upbeat because we want to inspire others. We want to encourage others. We don't want people to go out and burn down buildings and do all kind of crazy stuff. It's some things that they can do if you want to show that you in support of Black Lives Matter and those things like that. We also have a sit down dinner that we usually do, but because of the COVID, we haven't been, we did it last year in 2020 because it was in February before the country closed down. But this year, we did a Zoom call, not a Zoom call. It was it was a virtual call. That's what it was. And so those are the things that we have in remembrance of Trayvon. The foundation does those every year. I have something called the Circle of Mothers, which was a dream. Then there was no space for what I was feeling. I didn't feel like anybody understood what I was feeling. I got a letter from Afeni Shakur, and it made me feel like she knew what I was going through, because people was telling me about their grandmother. They was telling me about their cats, their dogs that died. They was telling me about, just older people. And I was like, they don't, understand, like, this is a child, this affects you in a different, this hit in a different manner, this a different feeling, this is more severe, I was heartbroken when my grandmother passed away because I was very close to her. But by the same token, my grandmother was in her 90s, she raised 5 girls, she lived her life, and I just couldn't compare that death with the death of a child. And so when I did get a letter from Afeni Shakur and I read it, it's like she felt what I was going through. And that was the first time I had experienced her or a person that had been going through loss of a child. People were reaching out to me, a lot of church people, a lot of my friends and family and stuff like that. But I just felt like they didn't know. You don't really know what I'm going through. You talking to me about a death, but you don't really know what this is. You don't really know the death and how much pain I'm in and how it hurts to lose a child that you carried for 9 months. You don't really know, and so I created the Circle of Mothers. And from Afeni Shakur is my first keynote speaker. And that was the first time she talked about her being in a room of her peers. Like, she had never been around other moms who had lost a child. So she had a lot to offer to us. We had a lot to receive. And so I've been doing the Circle of Mothers for the last, I think, 7 years. I've been doing the Circle of Mothers. I'm very proud of the Circle of Mothers because it's about healing. Women heal differently from men. We hug, we laugh, we cry, we bond, all of those things. I'm very proud of it. You'll see the video on the website. Just have a piece of tissue. It's very riveting. It's very passionate, but it's needed, and the only thing I want the moms to do, I sponsor them to come here to Miami for a weekend after Mother's Day. And I just want them to go back into their community and help other mothers and help other families. That's the only thing I want them to do, because it was so much falling on my shoulder. Like, every time somebody lose a child, they would call me, and it was like too much for me. Like, I'm still healing, I'm still grieving, and you want me to help you? I can't do anything but cry with you, And so the Circle of Mothers kind of link us together so that if this one is not available, you have access to other moms that can help lift you up. And that's what's needed. On the Circle of Fathers, Tracy does his a little differently from the Circle of Mothers because, like I said, we heal differently. And so he does something where he's helped to build better men, better fathers, better husbands, and just, make sure he's working on the men. But they do their own thing and we do our own thing. Mine is a weekend. He does like a couple of events through the weekend. We have a back to school event where we give away about 500 book bags to elementary and middle school kids. I really like that because I like them running around. I like all the chaos with the ice cream and, all the things that come with the kids, and we give them book bags from the foundation with supplies. We have different reading programs out there. We have different vendors out there that's going to help them throughout the year. We give them this pep talk because we want them to do really this year. That was something that was good. We also have a scholarship program where we give 2 high school students scholarships to go to college. And, that's another program we have. We also have a youth summit that we do every year around October. We had to do virtual last year, but that program is really good. We reach out to about 1,200 kids a year, and we give them all kind of little things. We have a DJ there. We kind of hype them up because we want to talk about conversations that they can't talk about in school. So we talk about teen suicide. We talk about social media. We talk about self-esteem. We talk about, all of those, gun violence, social justice, and what can they do. We talk about all of those things that, it's a little different from the math, reading, science, those things. So that program is very good. It works very good. And we get them to open up about a lot of things because you never know what our young people are going through. It could be mental issues. It could be them feeling lonely or feeling rejected or something. We talk about those things. Then we have a Thanksgiving. For Thanksgiving, we give away baskets, gift baskets, and we donate to the family. We fix the baskets with all the trimmings and the turkey and everything, and then we give them to the families. And then we have 2 families that we select that we give a cooked meal to. And then for Christmas, we do a big toy drive. I I think I kind of hit everything. I might have left out one or two things, but it's on the website, TrayvonMartinFoundation.org. You also can, while you're there, you also can take a look if you want to donate to the foundation so we can do the work, that's fine. Or if you want to purchase merchandise, that also helps the foundation. We have hoodies, we have masks, we have tank tops, we have t-shirts, we have books, because we definitely have a book of Rest Empowered, the Enduring Life of Trayvon Martin that Tracy and I wrote. So that would help the foundation as well. So I just encourage, just take a look around on the foundation's page and see some of the things that we're doing.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So the chat is live, and people have a lot of questions. First, there are a lot of thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing yourself. Thank you for sharing Trayvon with us this evening. And you have special greetings from your sorors of Delta Sigma Theta. And so let me just jump right into the questions so that
let me get into the Deltas first.
They're out there, I see them. So Ms. Fulton, this was the very first question that actually came in before you started speaking. And it said, what do you believe is the best way to move forward to achieve justice in a rigid and inhumane criminal justice system? And if you can briefly answer that question, because I want to get to all of these other questions. They're really, really good. So what are your thoughts about that?
The justice with the justice system is not going to change overnight. Okay, but we have to stay vigilant. Meaning, if the case of Ahmaud Arbery was recently, they recently had, I think, the 1-year anniversary of, you know, he was the guy that was running in Brunswick, and the 3 guys cornered him off and shot and killed him, and they went home and got in their beds. Okay, we need to continue to find out what's going on with that, because that's still an open case. There are still things we can do, whether we rally, whether we run for office, whether we write letters to the mayor, the governor, whoever. We need to find out through the attorney what we should do next. And so they should organize that and tell everybody what should be done next. Instead of what I'm seeing now is a lot of people doing their own different things, and it's not helping. We got to come together collectively and say, this is what we're going to do. We're going to make calls, or we're going to write letters, or we're going to run for office, or whatever the case may be. We got to be vigilant, and we got to make sure that we're following up on the things that we do and not just let it fall by the wayside.
You. And so the next question I have actually comes from one of our doctoral students from UMBC. And she says, thank you for sharing your time and being vulnerable with us. And I was wondering your thoughts on parents talking early with their children about systemic racism and racial inequity. And what kinds of conversations can we have with our kids? And I'm interested too. I have a 19-year-old, of course, Black male. And, you know, I fear for him every day because of what he was 10 years old when Trayvon was killed. And so, you know, the whole hoodie and just being out scares me. So if you could address the question about the kinds of conversations that we might be having with our kids.
Okay, first of all, everybody don't see our kids as the wonderful kids that they are. They don't see the value in our kids because of the color of their skin. So we gotta say that with our mouth. We know it, but we don't say it. And so we gotta say it. Listen, people don't see the value in you. And that's one of the reasons why the kids don't see the value in themselves. You have to see the value. You have to know your worth. And so we have to tell them that so that they know how valuable they are. And then we have to let them know the ugly truth. And that's that other people don't see you in the same way. Other people don't see you in the same manner. Other people might see you as a criminal, might see you as an animal, might see you 3/4 a human. That's not who you are. But we got to have those conversations with them. We got to have those conversations about who looks suspicious and who doesn't. because the people that look suspicious to me, they probably look suspicious to you too. But when you go across the line or across the aisle, their suspicions look a different way. And so I'm not scared of a group of Black people because I'm a person of color. And so we got to talk about those things. What I started doing when my kids were like younger and before this situation, when things came on the news about kids drowning and car accidents and kids being lost and stolen and stuff, we used to talk about those, and that give you a great segue into things that you can talk about and things that you can discuss. You know, like a 14-year-old on the news here, he stole the family car, 14, and they were like, oh, he doesn't drive. He was driving that day because he drove away from their home and he'd been missing for like a day and a half. You know, so we got to have these conversations and say he doesn't even understand the danger of stealing that car. You might have thought you was going joyriding, but you got to think about things that'll happen to you now that's going to affect you in the future.
Thank you.
That's my feel on that.
Yeah, I agree. So this is another question, and I did ask you earlier, was there anything off limits? And so this next question is, how did you deal with the anger that resulted from Zimmerman not displaying regret for his actions? And did he apologize to you for his actions and then bless your strength? Bless you for your strength.
Thank you. Whoever sent that, thank you. The only time I saw anything was during a bond hearing when he apologized, which it wasn't sincere. It was a bond court, so he's really trying to get out of jail, and he was really trying to convince the judge to lower the bond, and that's when he apologized to us, but it wasn't sincere at all. It was just something his attorneys probably advised him to say, and so I just threw it away. I heard it and I threw it away. What was the next question? About how I deal with the anger?
Yeah.
Okay. This is something that, and I can never tell other people how to grieve. I can never tell you what to do, but I found myself in a position that I had never been in. I found myself in a dark spot where I was so depressed, I was so sad, and I didn't know how to get back out of there because I had found myself like really, really deep. And I was like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be where I am. I don't want to be sad and crying all the time. I don't want to be I just felt like I was never going to be happy again. And you have to make a decision. And that's the difference between me and a lot of people who you see who won't move forward because they can't move forward because they haven't made the decision to move forward. You really have to make an honest decision. You really have to do some soul searching and talk to God, and you have to know that you have the power within. A lot of people look for other people and say, okay, I need my pastor, I need the church people, I need my family, I need some praying, or I need this. If you look within, it's a lot of strength within you. It's a lot of strength that I had to build up in Sabrina that I didn't even know I had. But God didn't bring me to that point for me to be depressed and for me to be sad and hurting. He brought me to that point to strengthen me and to speak up for my son. And that's what I did. And a lot of times they expect people of color to be strong. And we are. But what happens is I'm not strong because I was tested and I found that I couldn't do it. I'm strong because I was testing and I was saying, Lord, you didn't bring me here for me to be weak, for me to be sad, for me to be hurt. You brought me here because you want people to see my strength. You want people to know that if I did it, they can do it, and I'm no superwoman. You wanted these things. And so I believed in that. I trust in God. And I told God he had made mistakes and all of those things. But at the end of the day, I trusted in God. And so, and I tell people that, and I even got a post on my thing. I said, people always have something negative to say when you talk about God. I say, if that makes you uncomfortable, then God. I put it all over my page. Like, just delete yourself, because it's not going to stop me from talking about God, because I know where my strength comes from.
Amen. Amen. So here's another a good question. the public school system, like teaching youth their rights and how to interact with the legal system and how to advocate. And yeah, so what do you think about that?
Your camera froze, so I didn't hear the first part.
Okay. So why do you think we don't have civil rights classes throughout the public school system to teach youth their rights and how to interact with the legal system and how to advocate?
No, I believe we should have. I remember taking civics, and that's the closest we came to just knowing what your rights was and knowing about politics and knowing about the justice system. That was the closest we came. And that didn't do, that didn't give you much knowledge. Okay, so that's an area and that's a gap. And so all our National Action Network and NAACP and Urban League and even Kaepernick has a foundation called Know Your Rights. That's where they should come in. And that's when we all the mentoring programs, we need to make sure that we touching our kids. And even if they're not taught those things in school, like financial literacy and things like that, they need to be taught it on the outside. I agree with you that the school needs to teach it, but we probably a long way from that because that's going to give them too much knowledge.
Thank you for that question. So I'm trying to shake up the questions a little bit, and I see a lot of the grad students from UMBC in the room who are already advocates. So there's another question, and we didn't touch on this, but they want to know, how is there any way that we can help fund and donate from maybe just even here in Maryland to help get you elected? We know that you're running for office, so let's go down that track for a minute.
I lost the election that I need to update. I put it on my record that I need to update my bio. That election was August 18th, and I lost by 333 votes. So right now, I'm like telling people that's why it's so important, because in all honesty, I had a lot of support. I was running against a mayor here in Miami. So I'm very proud of the work that I did. I met a lot of really, really nice people. I met a lot of people who had a lot of complaints as well, about the current system. And so, and I told them that's why it's important that you not elect another politician. You need to elect a resident like myself that can speak up for you and do the things that need to be done, because a politician is going to do the same thing they've been doing, and that's what you're complaining about. I mean, I was very open and honest. You could hear about my conversation that I was very open and honest. I went to a lot of homeowners association meetings because I want to know what the residents' complaints was. I didn't want to listen like a politician does and say, okay, we get in our back, have our backroom deals, and we doing these things. I was actually going to be a public servant that was for the residents, and that was going to put the residents, the people, over profit. What we have in place now, it's a mess. It's a mess. And I kept telling people, if you want something different, if you want to try to change up some of the corruption, if you want, just a different voice, if you want a person, I don't want people to look at me as a politician. I want you to look at me as a resident that's fighting for you. I'm standing with you. I'm speaking up for you. This is, we doing this together. And so I had a lot of support. I raised a lot of money. I had some like grueling days, but I had to shake a lot of hands and go to a lot of meetings. And people who had not met me before, as the mother of Trayvon Martin and Javaris Fulton, they got a chance to meet me because I came to their meetings until the COVID shut everything down, like in March. So I couldn't do too much, March, April, May, I couldn't do it too much those months. And then August, when they had the early voting, I was there every single day. Like I wanted people to see me. I wanted people to know who I was, because they see this person that's on TV, but they didn't really know me, I came from public, government. I worked for the government for 25 years. And so I already knew the inside of Miami-Dade County. So now a lot of people are asking me if I'm going to run again. And I'm not going to say yes right now. But what I will say is, after I take me a vacation, and I haven't taken one yet, but after I take me a vacation and clear my head, I'm going to decide if I want to run again, because I do have a lot of support. I don't know. I don't know. It was fun. I don't know how it was fun running, but it was fun. But very time consuming. People didn't tell me that I was going to have to make calls and ask for money. They didn't tell me about call time. They didn't tell me that I was going to have to hit the pavement every day. And everybody had something to tell me, whether they told me about the trial and where they was when the verdict came out, or they told me about their water bill, or they told me about their garbage or the bus route or whatever. They wanted to talk, and I listened.
That's awesome. Well, you didn't lose by much, so you probably should consider running again after that vacation and post-COVID, of course. So this is a different type of.
Oh, sorry, just because I have a question, and then maybe we can ask 2 more questions in the chat. But I do want you to know, Ms. Fulton, that if you do decide, you got support here too. So you
guys have to go to my, I have social media, and that's the only way I know to get, really get the word out. The news only want to talk to me about Trayvon. When it got closer to the election, then, I did an interview or 2. But most of the time, they don't want to hear about that. They want to hear about Trayvon. And so it's hard to get my election stuff in there when they talking about my son. So, that's how it is. But hey, I'm on social media. I'm on all platforms. You can go there. I made an announcement when I decided that I was going to run, and that's what I'll do again. Just follow me.
And is it just your name, Sabrina Fulton?
Yes, ma'am. I don't have an alias yet.
So my question, something you said earlier about not being strong all the time, I thought that was so important to mention, because when we were thinking of the theme, community resilience, systemic change, and empowerment, we were a little skeptical about using resilience, because we know that people place that word on Black people, on Black women a lot, as a cop-out to addressing systematic oppression. So it's like, it's okay, she's strong, she's gonna get through it. But it was so important for you to mention that, even with the Circle of Mothers, I probably said it wrong.
No.
Okay, Circle of Mothers, you mentioned all you could have done with them was cry too, because they were looking to you for strength, but you were still healing. I thought that was so important to mention that, we're not going to be strong all the time, and that's okay. And so
it's a lot on me too.
Right.
It's a lot, because people are not going to call me, okay, they want to go to a football game, and so they invite me to a game. They're not calling me for something that's happy. They're calling me because their son was shot and killed, or their daughter committed suicide, or something. My burdens are very heavy when it comes to that. And so I couldn't do it all by myself. So I created the Circle of Mothers. And so I have other mothers that they can connect to. Because at one particular time, it was me. And it was just me, and I was like, Lord, I don't know what you want me to do. You want me to stand up, but I'm falling down. Like, what do I do? And so I just want people to know, this is a human thing. It's like, I'm going to be healing for the rest of my life. So sometimes I can, listen to what happened with George Floyd, and sometimes I have to turn the TV off. I went to the funeral. I went to meet with the family in Kentucky for Breonna Taylor. I met with Ahmaud Arbery's family, but sometimes I have to take myself away from the equation, because it's too much. It's like overwhelming. It's like, what I do? I can't do nothing, but I can't help this mom. I can't give her any words of encouragement because I'm broken. And so then it takes time for me to get myself back together and rejuvenate and restore my mind, and then I'm okay again. But it's a roller coaster. you know, and I tell people that, like, I have my good days and my bad days.
Yeah.
I give myself permission to have bad days, you know. And so if I don't do anything on Trayvon's birthday but cry, I'm okay.
That's
I'm
right.
okay. I'm human. Like, I can't be upbeat and positive and happy all the time. Majority of the time I am, but when I'm not, I'm not.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Well, you mainly answered my question. I was going to ask, you know, how do you just take time for yourself, just for Sabrina Fulton, and you did that. So thank you for sharing that with us. And I think that a lot of people definitely took heed to that as well. Justine, you can ask maybe one or two more questions. I think I do see a few more.
Yeah, there was a good question in there. And someone wanted to know, and I think I scanned by the question, but they wanted to know, what do you do for peace? What do you do for relaxation? What do you do? What makes you happy these days? Where do you find joy? And that also came from one of my doctoral students from UMBC. And I tell you, these psychology students, they know the things to ask.
Trying to get into my.
There's some brilliant young people. So thank you for that question, but we would love to hear from you.
Okay, so those psychology students trying to get in my head, they trying to figure things out. But I know when it's time to push back. You know, I know when it's time to, when I can watch the news, and I know that there are times when I can't watch the news. There are times when I can meet with families, and there are times that I can't go. I send a card or an envelope or something, or some type of token to the moms, because that's who I felt a certain way. And so I know that they feel a certain way, but I can't always go. And sometimes people don't understand that. But I have to be good for myself. I have to be, you know, in the right state of mind for myself. And when I'm not, I take myself away from the equation. So let me just flip that a little bit and tell you about some of the things that I do for self-care, because that's what they're asking. I meditate, I read my Bible, I sing, I dance with my friends and act crazy with my friends when we karaoke, and we be Beyonce and Gladys Knight and everybody. We do all of these songs, and you know, I just enjoy life. I take myself away from work, like I'm off today. That's what I say. And then being off, I'm not doing anything that's work related. I'm not going to answer emails. I'm not going to answer calls. I'm in Miami. I go to the beach a lot. I know you guys are in Maryland and you freezing. We can still go to the beach, you know. I know it's February, but we still going to the beach. We try to practice social distancing, and we still have to wear our masks and, you know, wash our hands, what we've been doing. But, you know, I do the beach thing. I love the spa. People are so amazed when I say this, and I like to say it because I like the, you know, people just to get all roused sometimes, but I like to drink white wine, and that's something people be like, what? Yes, I drink white wine. I'm not perfect, you know. Sometimes I have me a glass of wine. It helps me relax. I play puzzles on my phone, like crossword puzzles and word games on my phone. Those are things I like. I like to, you know, FaceTime my son and mess with him and ask him all kind of crazy questions and stuff like that. And what does he think about this, that, and the other? And remind him that he only has one mom and all of those things. And try to make him sing a song. And then sometimes I sing him a song like, Ma. I like to walk the mall. People say that's crazy, but sometimes I don't like to be outside. You know, it'd be too humid sometimes. And I'll go to the airport and I put on my sneakers and I park and I walk the airport, I walk the mall, you know, and just, you know, just getting some exercise in. I put my earphones in, it clears my mind, and I'm exercising at the same time. But I love it, you know. I try not to stop at the stores, but you know, those are some of the things that I do just to take myself away from just life and what's going on in life, you know. And so there has to be that balance in there. And I'm kind of managing that balance, you know. Every now and then, like I said, on his birthday, it wasn't a happy time for me. I just stayed home. I had a list of things that I was supposed to do, but when I woke up, I wasn't feeling like I needed to do those things. I stayed home. I cried. I ate ice cream. I never took off my pajamas. And I just tried to watch movies. I made it real cold in the house, and I just did nothing. And I just allowed myself to have a bad day. That was a bad day. And I allowed myself to have a bad day. And we got to give ourselves permission to grieve. It's been 9 years. I'm still grieving, and I'm not going to allow anybody to tell me, oh, well, you should be finished in 5 years. You should be done. It's been a long time, but you don't know what how my heart feels and how my heart is mending and how I'm, you know, the process is going for me. So in my own time.
So I have one last, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole, but I have one last statement that is in the chat. Everyone is thanking you for sharing your pain and your love with us. And Trayvon will forever live in our hearts, and we will never stop advocating for him and celebrating all Black lives, voices, and stories. So with that, before we turn it over to Nicole, I would like for you to just share with us, because we know of Trayvon because of Trayvon's death, right? But tell us 5 things about Trayvon that we don't know. Trayvon, your son. Tell us 5 things about Trayvon that would just even bring joy to your heart and my heart.
Trayvon was a mama's boy to the core. If I was mad at him, he would lay in front of my room door until I come out. He was a mama's boy. He gave me a nickname of Cupcake. He was a very sociable person. Like my other son probably got maybe 5 friends. You don't deal with a whole bunch of people. Trayvon, everybody is a friend, really friendly, you know, one of those guys, and started getting into girls and taking showers and wearing cologne and the fancy shoes and all of these things. Just very affectionate. I remember I was at a park and he was on the other side of the field, and he ran all the way down where I was and lifted me up and kissed me, and people were like, oh, this boy, he loved his mom. But outside, he loved outside. Was never one of those people that stayed inside the house all day. He had to get out, you know, he had to get out and spread his wings, you know. I didn't get the 5 yet.
I think you made 5. Those are wonderful things to know about your son, and that he was a mama's boy and like the dress. Yeah, I know about the showers and cologne. So
and the shoes, the expensive shoes.
Right, and the expensive shoes. Absolutely. So I'm going to turn the program first. I just want to personally thank you for being here, and thank you really to Nicole for planning this event. And I'm going to turn it over, and she will close us out. But I just want to thank you for being here, and I can hear the people in the audience also clapping and thanking you for sharing your life and your story and your son with us.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Justine, for moderating. And that last question made me tear up, because we do only remember Trayvon as the Black boy who was shot and killed, but like we forget that he was actually a person. He was loved by so many, and I'm just longing for the day when, you know, Black children, Black people, Black men, Black women are not remembered in this way, you know, aren't remembered for tragedies that fall on us. So I like, when I heard that he was a mama's boy, I was like, wow, Trayvon was a child. He was a mama's boy. Like, so thank you for sharing that with us. That really touched me. And thank you for sharing your story and your vulnerability. I know that it's not easy, and I'm pretty sure that everybody who's viewing appreciated all that you shared with us. And I wish you the best of luck, Ms. Fulton, as you continue the work and around Trayvon, in honor of Trayvon Martin. And I will put all of your information on how we can support in the chat and also in the email that I send out afterwards. So thank you so, so much. I also want to thank you. I also want to thank the sponsors who made this event possible. I asked for support like 2 weeks ago, and the amount of all of the departments and programs who came together to just step in and pitch in was very heartwarming. And so I'm going to just call the names. I want to thank Promise. I want to thank the Meyerhoff Graduate Fellows Program, the Africana Studies Department, the Graduate Student Association, the Department of Sociology, Anthropology, and Public Health, and the Psychology Department. I want to thank Manaza for performing her wonderful poetry. And then to two Big Soul members, Manaza is one of them, but the other one is Jabari Wells for their support with helping me plan this program. I didn't think virtual planning would be so hard, but it's so challenging. I would rather in-person meeting, but thank you both so much. Thank you to David Souter, who has been behind the cameras with everything. Thank you so much, Justine Johnson, who is Big So's advisor and the Associate Director of the Meyerhoff Graduate Fellows Program. She's helped me with so much with all of this planning. And I want to thank the President of the University, Dr. Freeman Rabowski. And then lastly, I want to thank all of you who joined, who took time to listen to Ms. Fulton's story, and who will, I'm sure, support her. Visit TrayvonMartinFoundation.org. When you get the chance, I will send out that email again. And before we depart, this is something I did last year. I'd like to recite these words to you. It's adapted by The Brother to Brother by Jill Scott Heron. And this is something that the Black Caucus at Penn State would always say at the end of every Black celebratory empowerment event. And so it goes, now more than ever, all the brothers and sisters must come together. All the brothers and sisters everywhere must feel that time is in the air. Common blood flows through common veins, and common eyes all see the same. Now, more than ever, all the brothers and sisters must come together. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Thank you all so much for coming, and Ms. Fulton, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. You are so appreciated.
Thank you. One day I'll get a chance to meet you all in person.
Yes, I am praying for that day.
Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I can't end the event.